Have you ever felt the need to harden your heart to keep going, as if feeling too much were too dangerous? Perhaps no one notices, but inside something remained silent. Often, this emotional armor arises as a legitimate attempt to survive the pain, disappointments and losses that have marked life. It's not a lack of faith nor coldness, it's protection. But little by little, this closed heart begins to push away not only people, but also emotional healing itself. Perhaps you pray, move forward, fulfill your responsibilities, but feel that something is stuck inside, a kind of emotional block that's hard to explain, as if your emotions are locked away in an inaccessible place. Have you ever experienced this? The body keeps going, faith continues, but the feeling seems distant. And the most curious thing is that the more we try to protect ourselves, the more the feeling of emptiness and disconnection grows. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might surprise you. There's a profound difference between protecting your heart and silencing it, and understanding this can completely change how you see your emotions, your spirituality, and the path to inner healing. From here on, we'll take a closer look at this armor that seems strong, but might be costing you too much. Have you ever felt the need to harden your heart to keep going, as if feeling too much had become dangerous? Perhaps no one notices, but inside, something remained silent. Often, this emotional armor arises as a legitimate attempt to survive the pain, disappointments and losses that have marked life. It's not a lack of faith nor coldness, it's protection. But little by little, this closed heart begins to push away not only people, but also emotional healing itself. Perhaps you pray, move forward, and fulfill your responsibilities, but feel that something is stuck inside, an emotional block that's hard to explain, as if your emotions are locked away in an inaccessible place. Have you ever experienced this? The body continues, faith remains, but feeling seems distant. And the most curious thing is that the more we try to protect ourselves, the more the feeling of emptiness and disconnection grows. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might surprise you. There's a profound difference between protecting your heart and silencing it. And understanding this can transform how you see your emotions, your spirituality, and the path to inner healing. From here on, we'll take a closer look at this armor that seems strong, but might be costing you too much. When we talk about emotional armor, we're not talking about something negative at first glance. On the contrary, it's born at specific moments in our journey, usually after deep pain, losses that have shattered us from the inside, rejections that have shaken our identity, or frustrations that have changed the way we see life. At some point, the heart learns that feeling too. Much hurts, and so it creates a protection, an invisible layer that promises security, control, and emotional survival. And at that moment, it seems wise. It seems like maturity. It seems like the best possible decision. This armor manifests as emotional silence, as excessive self-control, as a "I can handle this alone" mentality. It's an automatic response from the body and mind trying to avoid further impacts. There's even a hidden truth in this. Without this initial protection, many people wouldn't have been able to continue. Therefore, it's important to state clearly, emotional armor doesn't stem from weakness, but from the attempt to move forward when there wasn't space to feel everything that needed to be felt. The problem begins when this protection ceases to be temporary and starts to define who we are. What was once a survival tool becomes a way of life. Decisions become guided by the fear of feeling again, sensitivity is confused with risk, and the heart learns to close itself off even to what could heal. Little by little, without realizing it, the armor strengthens while the connection weakens. The transformation that should happen is suspended, and the emotional journey is put on hold. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because understanding how this armor settles behind the scenes of our story completely changes the way we look at our emotions, our faith, and its silent impact on body and soul. Before continuing, comment below. Does this make sense to me? There's an almost imperceptible moment when this protection ceases to fulfill its original purpose. It doesn't happen all at once, nor dramatically. It's silent. What once helped us move forward gradually begins to limit us. The emotional armor adjusts so well that we don't even realize when it transforms from a shield into a prison. The heart hardens slowly, not out of malice but out of exhaustion. Feeling takes work. Trusting requires energy, and without realizing it, the decision becomes always the same: avoidance. This manifests itself in everyday life in very common ways, in the difficulty of asking for help, even when the burden is too great, in choosing to solve everything alone because depending on someone seems risky, in the automatic smile that hides what is really happening inside, in relationships where there is physical presence but emotional absence, in prayers made more by the mind than by the heart. Everything works, everything moves forward, but something essential is left out. The hidden truth is that this armor begins to shape the mindset and influences important decisions. The person no longer chooses based on what they want to experience, but on what they need to avoid feeling. The impact of this is profound. The emotional journey narrows, sensitivity diminishes, and healing, which requires openness, no longer finds space to happen. It's not that the person doesn't want to change or grow. It's that protecting themselves has become such an automatic habit that any invitation to transformation sounds like a threat. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject because this turning point reveals a lot about the behind the scenes of our emotional history. When protection turns into isolation, the heart may believe it's safe, but it pays a high price: disconnection from oneself, from others, and from one's own inner life. Before continuing, comment below, does this make sense to me? When the heart learns to be silent, the body begins to speak, and it speaks in a way we don't always associate with emotions. Constant tiredness even after resting, a tension in the chest that appears without warning, pains that migrate through the body and find no clear explanation, a silent anxiety that doesn't manifest in crises, but in a permanent state of alert. None of this arises from nothing. They are signs of a hidden truth that has been pushed inside for too long. The body cannot pretend. It doesn't have the same capacity as the mind to justify, rationalize, or spiritualize pain. When emotions are repressed, when feelings are considered dangerous or inconvenient, the body takes on the task of expressing what the soul was forbidden to feel. It's as if it were saying, in physical language, everything that didn't find space to exist emotionally. And the longer this journey of inner silence, the greater the impact on balance, energy, and even how the person relates to their own life. Many decisions made over time contributed to this. Decisions to swallow the tears, to move on without processing the loss, to be strong when what was needed was to be comforted. The survival mentality works for a while, but it takes its toll. The body begins to carry what the heart could not touch, and not as punishment, but as a cry for attention, an invitation to transformation that arrives disguised as discomfort. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject because understanding this connection completely changes how we view symptoms, faith, and self-care. When the body speaks, it's not sabotaging. It's revealing something essential that has remained in the background of the emotional story and that finally needs to be heard. Before continuing, comment below, I'm on this journey too. When the heart remains silent for too long, this closure doesn't just affect the emotions, it subtly and profoundly permeates spirituality. Faith continues to exist, spiritual habits remain, but something changes. In the inner experience, prayers become more mental than physical. Words are spoken, but the heart doesn't follow. It's as if faith follows a familiar script, while the soul observes from afar, protected by the same armor it has learned not to feel. Many people don't realize this process because it's confused with spiritual discipline. There's a mindset of consistency, of doing what needs to be done, even without the will to. And this, at certain points in the journey, even sustains. But when this posture persists, automatic faith begins to stifle what should be alive. The hidden truth is that feeling God requires vulnerability. It requires presence, and presence only happens when the heart is not shielded. The impact of this manifests in the difficulty of feeling emotion, of surrendering, of trusting that it is safe to feel. The person believes, but does not experience it. You know God is near, but you can't perceive it. Not for lack of spirituality, but because the same decisions that closed the heart to pain also closed it to consolation. The armor makes no distinction. It blocks everything. The spiritual journey continues, but without intimacy, without exchange, without that inner space where faith transforms into encounter. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because recognizing how this shielding affects spirituality brings important revelations about the kind of relationship we are cultivating with God and with ourselves. When the heart is overly protected, even faith loses access to the place where transformation truly happens. Before continuing, write in the comments, does this make sense to me? There is a profound reason why hardening one's heart is often interpreted as strength. From an early age, many people learn that controlling emotions is a sign of maturity, balance, and even solid faith. Crying less, reacting less, not showing pain seems to outsiders like spiritual self-control. And in fact, there is value in not being dominated by emotions. The problem arises when this control becomes denial, when feeling begins to be seen as weakness and not as part of the human experience. The mindset that develops there is subtle. If I feel, I lose control. So the unconscious decision is to harden, not because the person is cold, but because they believe that this is how they are being strong. This idea is reinforced by environments where pain needs to be overcome quickly, where faith is measured by the absence of tears, and where vulnerability seems like a lack of trust in God. This is a hidden truth that few people question. But feeling is not the opposite of spiritual maturity. Feeling is part of transformation. It is in contact with pain, fear, and fragility that real growth happens. The heart doesn't mature when it closes itself off. It matures when it learns to navigate emotions without getting lost in them. True authority lies not in suppressing what one feels, but in recognizing, embracing, and integrating it into one's own journey. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject because there's a crucial difference between emotional mastery and hardening of the heart. When this difference becomes clear, many revelations emerge about past decisions, silent impacts, and paths to healing that have been blocked. Before continuing, comment below. Does this make sense to me? Over time, emotional armor leaves traces. These aren't always obvious, blatant signs. Most often, they appear subtly, mixed into routine daily decisions and how a person relates to themselves, others, and God. One of the first signs is usually difficulty crying, not because there's no pain, but because the body has learned to hold it back. Emotions do arrive, but they find no outlet. Everything remains contained, controlled, silent. Another frequent sign is the fear of opening up. Deep conversations become tiring, more intimate bonds generate discomfort, and any situation that requires vulnerability is avoided. An emotional distance arises that is not declared but felt. The person is present but not fully present. The heart only participates to the extent that it feels safe. This impacts friendships, relationships, and even the way spirituality is experienced. Spiritual rigidity can also appear. Faith practices become mechanical, with no room for questioning, emotion, or surrender. There's a mentality of control, of doing everything right, but with little space for feeling. Along with this, an exaggerated self-sufficiency grows. The idea of needing help is unsettling. Dependence seems dangerous. Asking for support sounds like weakness. So the journey continues alone, even when the burden is heavy. The hidden truth is that these signs don't indicate coldness or lack of love. They reveal old decisions made for survival. They reveal emotional backgrounds that demand attention. When the armor is active, it organizes the entire life around protection, and this has a direct impact on how the person feels, believes, and allows themselves to transform. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject because recognizing these signs is a crucial point in the journey. When awareness expands, something begins to move within, opening space for different choices and a more honest transformation. Before continuing, comment below. Does this make sense to me? There is a silent danger in not feeling, and it is almost never noticed at first. Life goes on, responsibilities are met, choices seem rational. But inside something begins to tighten. Relationships become shallower, not for lack of love, but for lack of emotional access. Conversations become too safe, bonds avoid depth, and the exchange loses that truth that only exists when the heart is truly present. Over time, faith can also fall into this same automatic rhythm. Prayers follow a known pattern, words are repeated, but the inner experience no longer keeps pace. Spirituality becomes a habit, not an encounter. Not because God is distant, but because the heart no longer allows itself to open. The controlling mentality, which once seemed to protect, begins to limit the spiritual experience itself. Everything becomes correct, organized, but hardly alive. Accumulated emotional pain doesn't disappear. It merely shifts location. It remains stored, piled up, waiting for a space to be felt. This accumulation impacts energy, joy, the capacity for wonder, and even hope. The inner journey enters a kind of stagnation that's difficult to explain. There are no major crises, but there's no progress either. Transformation always seems postponed, as if something essential were stuck behind the scenes. The hidden truth is simple and profound. Healing doesn't enter where the heart remains closed, not as punishment, but because it's impossible. Healing requires contact, presence, sensitivity. When we don't feel, we don't access the place where healing happens. And the danger isn't in feeling too much, but in feeling nothing at all. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because recognizing this blockage completely changes how we see our history, our decisions, and the possible path forward. Before continuing, comment below, does this make sense to me? Opening your heart isn't about exposing yourself to danger, although for a long time that has been the automatic association. For those who have experienced deep pain, vulnerability sounds like an invitation to suffering. The mindset created along the way has taught us that feeling is risky, that trusting is costly, that letting your guard down means losing control. But that's only part of the story. An incomplete truth born from the attempt to survive, not from the complete vision of possible transformation. Vulnerability isn't about getting hurt again. It's about allowing what was blocked to find a safe path to exist. It's about creating space for God, awareness, and care to reach places that were previously occupied only by defense. It's not about opening yourself up to anything or anyone, but about stopping fighting against your own feelings. There's a profound difference between exposing yourself without limits and allowing yourself to be exposed with wisdom. And that difference changes everything. When the heart begins to open even timidly, something reorganizes itself within. Decisions become less guided by fear and more by inner truth. Faith ceases to be mere resistance and becomes encounter. Again, the emotional journey, which seemed stagnant, gains momentum. It's not a quick or comfortable process, but it's honest, and honesty is one of the surest paths to healing. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because opening your heart isn't an isolated act. It's a sequence of small choices that reveal a lot about how we learn to protect ourselves and the impact that has on our history. There are important revelations at this point, especially when we understand that protection can coexist with sensitivity. Before continuing, write in the comments, I'm on this journey too. Perhaps, upon hearing all this, something inside has become restless. Not a bad kind of discomfort, but the kind of silence that demands attention. Because deep down we all know there's a part of our hearts that we've learned to silence. Sometimes it was a conscious decision, sometimes it was automatic. A mechanism created behind the scenes of pain, loss, and disappointments that marked our journey. And without realizing it, this silence became a habit, a mindset, an identity. The great transformation begins when we have the courage to look at this place without haste and without judgment. Not to force feelings, nor to reopen wounds needlessly, but to recognize the impact of keeping certain areas closed for too long. There is a hidden truth in all this. The heart that remains silent is not at peace. It is waiting for safety, for permission, for an environment where feeling is not synonymous with danger. Reflecting on this changes how we view our decisions, our relationships, and even our spirituality. Faith ceases to be mere resistance and becomes presence. The inner life, which seemed stagnant, begins to show signs of movement. It's not about becoming fragile, but about integrating strength and sensitivity in a more complete way. This is a profound path, and each step on it reveals something new about who we are and who we are becoming. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because identifying which part of the heart is still silent is only the beginning. From there, important revelations about healing, purpose, and the continuation of this inner journey will emerge. Before continuing, comment below. Does this make sense to me? If all of this resonated with you on some level, perhaps it's worth sticking around. This space exists precisely to delve deeper into reflections like this, calmly, truthfully, and with practical application for real life. Subscribing to the channel is a simple way to not miss these conversations and to walk alongside us on this journey of inner transformation. And if you've made it to the end, leave a comment so I know this message reached you. You can write something like, "This message was for me." This helps create an even stronger connection between the person on this side and the person listening. If this content resonated with you, a like is also welcome. It shows that this exchange was meaningful and helps the video reach more people who might need to hear this right now. There's a video over here that complements this topic very well. Click on it and continue watching it.